2 years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night in a panic. I could feel my left testicle throbbing in extreme pain against the mattress and did what any sensible person would have done at 3:30 in the morning. I got up and went to the hospital. This was a key turning point in my life. It led to me closing down my six-figure agency a year later and ultimately packing up, moving to Thailand, clearing my entire calendar, and being in the current situation I am now. But before I tell you where this story goes and how it led to me shutting down my agency, I need to give you some backstory on my life, where I came from, my thought processes, and everything that led up to this moment first. Let's do this. I had an interesting childhood. I never had to worry about food not being on the table, and we were in a good situation financially. My parents sent us to private school for most of our lives. But I really struggled in a lot of other areas of my life that are very key to a human being's development. I had really bad social skills, I didn't know how to make friends, and I got bullied a lot. I didn't know why other kids didn't like being around me, so I acted out because I thought that's how I got attention, which created this negative loop of me getting in trouble, doing stupid shit, kids getting mad at me for doing stupid shit, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. I didn't really have friends outside of school, so it's not like I had a moment of relief once that bell rang. I played sports in my spare time and loved doing so, but most of my work came from shooting hoops alone outside my parents' house or going to the soccer field and playing with my brother. When I was in school, my teachers were getting mad at me, kids were pissing off at me. When I wasn't in school, I was reading, playing sports, continuing to be alone in my own little world. I often had dark thoughts of not being here anymore or what would happen if I wasn't on Earth, but I always kind of dismissed them and felt like it wasn't that big of a deal, or it wasn't something that I actually wanted to do. I just felt confused, and I was growing up without having anybody to really rely on in that intimate way where I could trust them with what I was going through. This all came to a head when I was 16 years old. I got cut from my high school basketball team on my 16th birthday. Ouch. And I realized I didn't like anything about my life now that the basketball dream was dead. I spent all my time trying to get better at basketball. I'd wake up at 5:30 in the morning every day in the summer, bike to the University of Manitoba, get up shots for like 2-3 hours, work on my game, go to the weight room after, rinse, repeat the rest of the day when the gyms were available. And that was my life. I didn't go to parties in the summer. I didn't hang out with other kids. I didn't have social plans. I had none of that. It was basketball, breathing, eating, sleeping. That's it. So when I didn't make the basketball team, I was completely devastated. I took a look around at my life and realized there was nothing else going on that I was excited about. I hated going to the school that I was at. And for the first 2 years, I thought it was okay, but I realized I really didn't like it. I didn't have any friends at school. I didn't have people I could rely on or mentors or people who I could trust. And things got really dark for me. I ended up going to a psychiatric ward in January of 2015 for 3 days because I had plans to delete myself. I don't know if YouTube still bans words like that, but we'll just keep it in that terminology. And when I was in that institution, it was really scary for me. Seeing what other people were going through, understanding what kind of implications this had, I got so scared, I just said anything I could to get out of there. I was like, I cannot be in here anymore. This is not a good environment for me to grow in. I honestly don't think it was that bad. Like, I don't think it was that big of a deal. I can pull myself up by my bootstraps. It's really not a huge deal. I'll be fine. And for a while that worked. I just applied myself more. I started listening in class and didn't sleep in class all the time. I tried to focus as much as I could on getting better grades and staying in decent shape and putting one foot in front of the other. But there was this underlying feeling that things could break and go south really quickly if I didn't do enough work. And that eventually happened in May. I went on this retreat with the school I was with at the time. It was a Catholic school, so they had this retreat and it was talked about really highly. This retreat was supposed to be this life-changing experience for the guys who went on it. You really formed a brotherhood and felt like you had guys you could count on and you learn about people's stories and you get close. And it's just this magical experience. Everybody talked so highly about it. I literally hadn't heard one person who didn't like it. However, the one I went on had a bit of a different reputation. I'm not going to go into the details about what happened when we were at this retreat because I don't think it's relevant. Things got out of hand. Teachers were concerned for student safety at one point. Nothing happened, but I remember a teacher knocking on our door at 3 in the morning and I was like, why is this teacher up? And there was a situation that was going on with a student and people were worried about the safety of everybody involved. As a kid, I was always scared of the dark, so sleeping was not my strong suit. And now with the possibility of things going south in a real way and people potentially getting hurt, I just stopped sleeping. I couldn't sleep for like 2 months. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I was putting on anxiety weight really easily. I was like 210 or 215. I'm like 207, 208 now, but that was not good weight I was putting on. And all of a sudden, I just went into this insomnia spiral and couldn't get out of it. The negative emotions I had towards myself, the self-hatred, the bitterness, the anger, the sadness, duplicated seemingly overnight, and I felt like I was in a worse position than I was in January. Luckily, I had an amazing counselor and a very loving family, and I made the decision to switch schools because I really wanted a shakeup. That, paired with the advice from my counselor Duncan, really helped me crawl out of that bad place, and things were looking really good heading into the summer. Fast forward a bit after high school, I ended up getting a spot on a college basketball team, which for me was huge, especially after going through everything I went through in high school, getting cut, going through everything I did, and now being on a college team. And I played well enough to get tryouts with colleges around the country, eventually leading to me trying out for the team Durham College in Ontario. I didn't think I was going to make the team, honestly. They're a playoff team in the top college division in Canada, talent-wise anyway. It's them and Alberta, neck and neck. But I didn't really think anything of it. In my mind, I was going to play for a completely different school. I didn't have this team on my radar at all. I just wanted more reps, felt like it couldn't hurt, played extremely well, and they gave me a scholarship. Once I had the expectations, though, things did not go very well. I didn't have the right guidance in the off season to train properly, so I absolutely fried my legs because I was working a really intense kitchen job all summer. I went from almost being able to dunk at the end of my rookie season to not even being able to touch rim, and I'm like 6'3", 6'4", so that's not great. But anyways, it just didn't go very well. My coaches and I didn't get along very well. My teammates and I didn't get along very well, and the entire province went on strike for like 6 weeks. The college told us if we wanted to drop out, we could get the remaining money back that we didn't use. I did that, moved back to Winnipeg with my parents, and was just trying to figure out what was going on. That led me to the world of podcasting, which also led me to the world of stand-up comedy, which I did for 4 years. Podcasting I did for 2 years, met a lot of cool people, grew my network, also met a lot of cool comedians in the city, and then started doing open mics. Started doing stand-up, was terrible at it, literally biked across the city because I was broke and couldn't afford gas money to give my parents to use their car, just to do open mics, bomb on stage, hate it, go back home and do it all again the next day. There were like 2 or 3 open mics a week, so it's not like I was doing this 7 days a week, but still, this wasn't something that was super easy, especially being bad at it. Do you know how difficult it is to bike 50 minutes to an hour to the open mic? Sometimes in the rain, where you're wearing a raincoat and you're super hot and sweaty, then you get to the venue and you have a bag full of clothes, you change in this tiny bathroom, go up, do your set, bomb, your face off, are terrible. You got to go back, change into your shitty, sweaty rain clothes, and then bike home and keep doing that over and over. In the summer, it's not as bad when it's sunny, but doing it in the rain once is enough to make you want to quit forever. I stuck with it though, and because I was working online and social media, was able to move to Toronto and got much better quickly when I was doing stand-up in Toronto. There's this trope about comedians that you kind of have to be depressed in order to do so, and that the most mentally ill people are the funniest, and that's what makes the art great. And I didn't align with that at all, because I was like, nah, man, I'm in social media. Like, I have a good job. Like, I'm not like these people at all. And sure, I wasn't drinking myself to sleep every night. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't caught up in the bullshit of that lifestyle. But I didn't realize there were serious cracks in my emotional foundation that I wasn't looking at. Just because I had a better job than the other comedians didn't mean shit. Just because I was in better shape than the other comedians didn't mean my life was perfect, and I was about to learn that. I decided to quit stand-up comedy in December 2022, officially, because I felt like the upside, the enjoyment, the creative spark of doing marketing would be way more worth it. And I was correct, but I was not christened into that journey. I was not initiated into that journey in a way that I preferred. A month later, I got fired from my job after I just decided to go all in on this, and hustled my ass off to get clients, to build my agency, and to start making more money. And it worked. I thought this was it. I fixed everything. I've made it in life. I'm making lots of money. I'm making $20K a month. I'm living downtown Toronto. I don't have to move back to Winnipeg, which I hated. And people are starting to recognize how good I am, how amazing this is going. But if I looked on a smaller scale, the day-to-day, there were a lot of indicators that showed me that things were not as good as I thought they were. I had a really difficult time falling asleep. I would need a physical release to fall asleep every night. I don't think YouTube lets you talk about things like that. So if you know what I'm saying, that's what I did to fall asleep most nights, more often than not, like 95% of the time. And I'm very grateful I never used adult content in that way and I wasn't addicted to it, so thank goodness. But still, that was my cigarette hit. That was my shot of whiskey after work. Do people do that? I'm sure people do that. That was my smoking weed. That was my way to numb because I actually couldn't handle the emotional state I was in. When I got quiet, when I got still and it was time to fall asleep, I couldn't do it. I would panic about a lot of things. Taxes, clients, my business, where am I gonna find my next money from? Even though I was making really good amounts of money, money that most people in the world don't see, I just wasn't fulfilled and I couldn't enjoy it. A month or two after I got fired and I was starting to do things on my own, I got a client who paid me $8K American in full. And I remember seeing that money hit and being like, holy fuck, I've made it. Holy shit, this is such an amazing feeling. And then 10 minutes later, I was like, I gotta do this again, don't I? Fuck. And I felt so anxious about it. In November of 2023, I made 56.5K or 56K Canadian. It's about 42.5K American with the exchange at the time. And I literally felt on top of the world. I was like, yo, we're gonna do it even bigger next month. Next year, we're really gonna scale this bitch to 100K a month. You know how it is. But internally, the dialogue was, am I gonna run out of money next month? How do I do this again? And I developed these habits of not being able to grow my wealth. The money in my bank account didn't increase. The money in my Stripe account increased, but I was just kind of treading water. I felt so much pressure to keep the train going, and I didn't realize how unsustainable it was until, well, as you know from the beginning of the video, my body tapped me on the shoulder lightly. This had happened to me in another capacity before my man parts started talking to me more clearly. It was my knee. A year prior, my knee just stopped working. I almost broke my kneecap in the summer of 2016, so fuck, almost 10 years ago now. And I had never felt pain in it since I nearly broke it. I couldn't walk for 3 to 4 days, and then it was just kind of sore for another 2 days, and then I could barely feel it for another 2 days after that, and then I was pretty much fine. It was like 7 to 9 days of total recovery, but the doctor said that it wasn't broken, there was no hairline fracture, it was just a bone bruise, and I was pretty much okay. But in 2023, when I was on fire internally and trying to put out a ton of fires in my life, that's when it started to hurt again. I had gotten fired from my job in January. I was trying to build this business. I was doing all these coaching programs. I was doing a million different things at a million miles an hour, and my knee was just like, yeah, we're done. Like, we're good. We don't work right now. This is when I started working with my main mentor, who I still work with today. I needed physio to actually rehab the physical injury. I could barely sleep and function and work during the day. I felt like I needed like DMT or some intense kind of psychedelic therapy. I was looking into that stuff. And eventually I found my mentor who was able to kind of walk me through some steps to get me out of that heightened anxious state. So my body talking to me was nothing new. And when I felt that feeling in my midsection area in 2024, I internally knew immediately what was happening, but I didn't want to admit to myself that that was the case. There was so much on my plate in February 2024. I was doing outreach to get more clients. I was about to move to Vancouver in 2 to 3 weeks. I was in a relationship that really wasn't serving me. I was trying to post more content every single day on short form and YouTube. I was hiring more team members. There was so much I had to do, and I just couldn't handle it all. However, because I was trying to negotiate with myself and didn't want to admit it, I had to learn this the hard way. When I was at the hospital that night, the guy told me that one of two things was probably happening. Either I was fine and I just needed to go to the walk-in and the doctor would look at me and I'd be okay, or two, I had testicular torsion and I wasn't gonna make it in 6 hours. Great options we have here. I opted to listen to option number one, and I'm still here, so thank goodness for that. Thank God. And I went to the walk-in the next day. I've been to walk-ins for this kind of stuff before. A doctor told me to check for cancer in that area years ago, and I took it to heart the same way that women are told to check themselves for cancer in their parts. I've noticed I had a cyst on my right one, so I'm like, this isn't a big deal. It's benign. I've had it for years. I'm not new to this. So when I went to the walk-in, the one that was hurting though was on the left. And I hadn't experienced that before. So I went to the walk-in, I'm telling the doctor about what's going on. He's like, do you mind if I check? I'm like, that's fine, just use your mouth. No, I'm kidding. But I'm like, that's fine. And he's checking around. He's like, I'm gonna check the right one first. I'm like, okay, cool. And we're just kind of talking. I'm like staring at the ceiling like this while I'm talking because, he's checking. And I tell him like, hey, can you let me know when you check the left one? That's the one that's hurting. And he responds with, I've been checking it for like 10 to 15 seconds at this point. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? There was no pain when he was checking it out. Finishes, pain comes back, and it's really intense. I'm like, okay, this is really fucking weird. Go home, and I'm just like trying to work and trying to forget about it, but it's still hurting. I'm like, God, I don't know what's going on. And again, internally, I knew what was going on. But I didn't want to admit it to myself because I was afraid of entering a new paradigm. I was afraid of, in my mind, having to start over. There's all these good things happening to me right now. I have this business. I don't want to stop progress for this. The next day was fine. And I was like, okay, thank goodness. I'm just going to keep grinding and keep working now and focus on my move. And then the day after that, it was like literally a 15 out of 10. I went to the walk-in and like I had my parka I was curled up into my parka and I was just hyperventilating in the waiting room. Get to the doctor's office and he's like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, no. And I'm like about to pass out. I'm like, can you just check, please? Like, I don't know what else to do at this point. Checks. I feel no pain when he's looking. And as soon as I'm done getting my checkup, it comes back like double the pain. I literally am like lightheaded leaving this guy's office, holding onto my jacket, sitting in the waiting room, trying not to pass out, hyperventilating. They send me to go get an ultrasound, and I even called one of my friends who had testicular cancer. It's so funny. I sent him a message out of the blue. I was like, hey man, can we talk? I have a question for you. And he picks up the phone. He's like, so what's wrong with your balls? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, do you know how many men just message me out of the blue? Like, hey, can we talk about something? He's like, it's obviously not a comfortable topic for guys to talk about, but like once a month or something. I can't remember the time. But he's like, every once in a while, some guy will call me and I'll be like, what's going on with your balls? And he'll be like, this, and this. When I talk to my buddy, he told me, he's like, dude, I had symptoms for like 5 or 6 months and didn't do anything. You've had symptoms for like a day or two. I don't think this is cancer. I think this is something different. And it got to the point where like I talked to my mentor and like I was keeping him updated, and eventually I realized like I just can't continue on with the way I'm living. Like there was just so much pain and I had to do something. I started meditating and taking that really seriously. I ended the relationship I was in. I started journaling seriously as well. I started a streak that day. I believe it was February 13th, 2024, of journaling and meditating every single day. Today is, what is today? Today's day 761 of the day of this recording. It's March 16th, 2026 today. If my math is wrong, that's funny. Let me know in the comments. I don't think it is. I've checked it a bunch of times. But I literally was going through this massive shift in my life, and my body was just telling me like, hey, we're tapped out, we're good. And when I started meditating and journaling, and when I took a bunch of Tylenol as well, I told my mentor, I'm like, I don't know if this is holistic or like crunchy or good for my health on like a deep, like spiritual level. I just need this, dude. I'm in so much pain. And he's like, whatever, that's fine. And so once I did that and started meditating and journaling, the pain went away. That specific pain though. And again, I tried to negotiate with myself. Oh, that's it. The journey's done. I don't have to do any more work now. The pain is gone, so we're okay. I did a deep dive with my mentor. We did mushrooms, 5 grams, which is a lot. Depending on who you are. I don't know, you could be crazy. You could be like, I do 7 grams, it's not a big deal. But it was 5 grams, and while I was doing this trip, when I first started going under, I felt this really light feeling of life, of vitality, of joy, of like this very innocent, amazing, beautiful, vital, healthy joy in my balls. And I felt so uncomfortable. I started freaking out. And then it hit me. For the longest time, I had felt so unworthy. And in that moment, I still did as well. Anytime I felt good, anytime I felt vital, anytime I felt my life force in a strong manner, I wanted to push it away. And so me telling you all the context at the beginning of the video isn't just to make the video longer and, try to add more value, but just to show you what I had went through on a really deep level and all the things I had been through that I had never faced in a real way. Like, sure, I had a counselor, and when I was feeling sad and I called myself depressed. I'm just going to use that term. I called myself depressed, and I use that label to describe myself. When I was in that state, when I was in that frequency, when I was in that period of my life, I had a counselor and I talked to people about my problems, and it helped a good amount. It really, really did. But there was so much underneath it. There was a root cause that I wasn't addressing because those same themes kept coming up in my life, in basketball, in comedy, in podcasting, in business. So when I felt that in the mushroom journey, it was such a revelation for me. It was such an eye-opener for me because I didn't realize that this is how I felt. Oh, I feel good about myself. Well, I need to go make money. Oh, I feel good about myself. Oh, I need to distract myself with this other thing. I need to numb myself now. It's not good enough. And the daily meditating and journaling started compounding, but there were still bumps along the road. In April of 2024, I was at a client shoot and I was filming content of him in the gym, and I passed out. He was talking about trying to have a kid and what he was doing when he was exploring that journey with his wife, and I literally just conked, like I was out. And I don't get squeamish about that stuff unless I'm in an anxious state. I literally fell on the floor, my glasses scraped my nose, I got this big gash on my nose, and as I was coming to, I heard somebody say, I think he had a stroke. And strokes have been in my family history. I at least know a couple, 2-3 people who have had a stroke. And I just started crying on the floor. I just like broke down and sobbed on this gym floor because I was like, what am I doing to myself? Like, what am I doing to myself? I'm putting my health at risk for what? For money that's not even fulfilling me? I feel so anxious. I'm running around the country like a chicken with my fucking head cut off, trying to do all these things. It's not putting me in a better situation. That was another indicator I need to keep going on this path of inner work. I need to keep going on this path of reflection, of understanding what I'm going through, relating to my inner process, getting deeper into spirituality, connecting with God. On top of meditating and journaling every day, I started fasting. I started going on retreats. I started doing breathwork more frequently. I started doing hypnotherapy. I started doing energy work. I started diving really deep into this topic because I wanted to understand what I was going through and why I went through what I did, why those things happened. There were a lot of signs along the path that showed me I was on the right track, but a really interesting one was in August of 2024, I did not have a lot of MRR coming in. I didn't have a lot of monthly income hitting my bank account. I was basically starting from close to zero, like 2 or 3K a month, and we were doing about 20K a month. So this was not a good projection for me. I decided that I would fast and I would surrender, and as scary as it was and as scared as I was, it was going to be okay. All of a sudden, I had a client respond to a cold DM of mine. And for a while, this is so funny. For a while, he just responded to my Twitter message. I couldn't see my message first. So it literally looked like he just messaged me out of the blue. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'd love to see more. Like, I'd love to talk more about this and get on a call. We got on a call. He told me that he wasn't super qualified. So I was like, oh, it's not a big deal. But he had been an OG in the space for like 20 years. He had so much testimonials and so much social proof and so many testimonials. He got his brother-in-law and his sister in on the deal, who were running a successful e-com company. They funded the deal and ended up being $9,500 in full. When I was fasting early in August, I decided to meditate. And even though I felt panicky and like, oh fuck, I don't know what I'm doing, I meditated. After the meditation, I felt so alive and so aligned. I went for a walk, ran into a guy at Stanley Park who I met at a networking event. He got me in touch with a lead that he thought would be a good fit for me. Closed 8K in full. That's over 20K Canadian closed in full. And a big reason of why it happened, it was because I aligned myself spiritually. I worked on my own frequency. I worked on my own energetic state. Even though I didn't know how I was going to make things happen, I chose to have faith and to work on this, to connect with my divinity, to connect with God, to connect with myself on a deep level, detach, let go, trust, and have faith that the path will present itself. There was another situation in September or October. I won't go too into detail on it because the video is getting pretty long. But there was a moment where a boundary was crossed with me and I started to negotiate with myself where I'm like, no, it's fine. It's okay. I don't really care that much. The next day I woke up so fucking sick, like blasting headache, couldn't get up to go to the fridge, couldn't go to the couch, had chills, aches, pains all over my body. And I think my body was like, do you really want to do this again? And I was like, no, I'm good. And so I acted accordingly. The last part of the story is in November, December of 2024, I decided to repair my relationship with fun and traveling. Traveling is something I've done a lot for my business, but I've always had a warped relationship with it because it's been this rigid, it has to be all about business. I can't have fun. I need to be working. I need to be doing stand-up when I was doing stand-up. I need to be networking. I need to always be on and going for business events. And I decided I'm going to go hang out with my brother in Germany, and I'm going to film content with him, and I'm going to document it, and I'm going to go with this light, fun energy that I want to enjoy myself and I want to feed into myself in a way that I haven't before in the past. Then I'm going to go to Bali, then I'm going to go to Australia. I'm going to meet up with people who I know. I'm going to meet up with people who are former clients. I'm going to meet up with people and hang out. We'll talk business. It'll be great, but I'm going to really focus on doing it from a fun, an energetic place of fun and a frequency that I want to enjoy. I met my wife online very shortly after making this decision and booking these tickets. We kept talking more and more. We kept calling each other. The connection grew. And the best part about this story is she said, if you're ever going to be out in Thailand, you should come visit. And I was like, is that a serious offer? And she's like, yeah. So I booked the ticket. I originally was going to go Germany, Bali, go to Thailand for a week, back to Bali, then Australia, which she always says is stupid. And I'm like, I wasn't originally planning on going to Thailand until somebody invited me. And when I was in Germany towards the end of that month, I was like, fuck, this is a lot of traveling. And like, I don't even know if I really want to go to Bali at this point because I'm so excited to see this girl. Then my flight to Bali got canceled. I still didn't get my money back because these assholes were like, well, you can't get from Frankfurt to Athens and Athens to Singapore, but you can still get from Singapore to Bali, so we're not refunding you. But it's okay. That's a light casualty I will take on the chin in the greater pursuit of getting married and meeting my best friend for the first time. And so the flight got canceled to Bali. I asked her if it was cool if I came earlier, and she's like, I don't own the country. And I was like, that's crazy. I thought you did. My bad. But I was like, I just don't want to be too forward. I was very excited. And yeah, it was cool, and we got along super well. And when I came back from Australia and Vancouver, she was there visiting family, and we spent so much time together. And then I eventually, when I went to go visit her in Thailand in May of 2025, I asked her if I could just stay. She said, yeah, I did. And yeah, we got married in January 2026. And I'm so, so happy about that. And that to me is such an amazing, such a beautiful evolution of the process when you're willing to really go to places that you're scared of. When you're really willing to relate to what you're going through, things can unfold in such an incredibly powerful way. I thought my issue when my ball was throbbing against the mattress was, I might be stressed out, or maybe there's something wrong with me. I didn't realize in that moment, or I wasn't willing to look at it, but it was an accumulation of everything in my life, of me selling parts of myself, of me giving my life force away. I didn't even say this part earlier in the video. Shit, way to bury the lead. When you don't give yourself what you need, pain will manifest in the body accordingly. For men, your life force is down there. And if you aren't honoring that, don't be shocked when that pain starts to, if you get pain in that way, or don't be shocked if your life reflects your lack of skill in being able to give yourself what you need. And if you don't know how, that's totally okay. The intent is not to shame you, but there needs to be a willingness before there is a skill. If there is a willingness, the path to the skill will appear, and things can transform and shift so deeply with an intention. If you have a deep intention, you can move mountains. And I've experienced that firsthand, and that's the intention of me sharing this video with you. Okay, the real last part of this chapter, because I know I was supposed to talk about shutting down my agency, is that when I realized that I was never going to move back to Winnipeg, even if things were dire and even if my financial situation wasn't great, because all that anxiety led me from $50K a month to being $50K in debt and having like $6K to my name. You don't make good decisions when you're not in a good emotional place. You don't make good decisions when you're not regulated and when you're not aligned and when you're not okay inside. But I shut down my agency because I realized the only reason that I started it was because I didn't want to move back to Winnipeg from Toronto. And once I realized that was never an option again for me, I closed it down. It wasn't aligned. And then I cleared my calendar, got a job, stopped getting on calls, and focused on creating content, building my friendship with my amazing, beautiful, hilarious, intelligent wife. I almost said intellectual. She is intellectual too, but I meant to say intelligent. And just enjoying myself in Thailand and letting things develop slowly, playing my own game and playing to my own speed instead of being rushed and feeling the need to do things for validation and security. I say all of this. I share this entire story with you. I share my entire life with you to tell you that you cannot outperform your self-image. You cannot outperform your energetic state. You cannot outperform your frequency and your vibration. Business strategies are amazing. I really value them. I think they're incredible and can help you make a big difference in your life. You ultimately will only be able to keep for the long term what you're earning on a deep level, the foundations that you set for yourself. If you haven't taken time to conscientiously look inward and look at what your foundations are and what your internal operating systems are, you're operating on outdated code. You're expecting a MacBook to run on Windows 98. Inner work is the most important part of business because your business is an extension of you, and if you don't even know what you need, and if you're not willing to look at what you need, there's probably gonna be a lot of gaps in your business and your work life and your career going forward. If you have the courage to admit what you want and then give yourself what you want, your life will change radically. Your life will change so radically. And this is why I'm so passionate about this stuff. This is why I believe in the inner work so deeply. This is why I believe in calibrating your nervous system, regulating your nervous system, calibrating your energy and your frequency, and going inward and understanding what you want and what you're looking for, and being willing to go deep and being willing to go to these places that most people ignore, because it's where all the magic lies. That's where you meet yourself for real. That's where you meet God. That's where you meet the deepest knowing of who you can become and who you've always been. And if you bring that to business, if you bring that to your work life, it's fucking magical, and people will feel that. People will only be able to meet you as deeply as you've met yourself, and that means through the screen as well, in your content, in your offer doc, in your business, in your group calls, in your mastermind. But anyways, that's today's video. I hope you got a lot out of it. If you did, let me know in the comment section. If you want to say hi, come follow me on Instagram, message me on Instagram. And if you want to watch a video on some more practical tips to mix with this inner work stuff that you're now integrating deeply into your life through this video on how to attract high quality dream clients in your coaching business, there's going to be something that pops up on the screen here. I'm sure it'll be of great value to you, but I love you. There we go. It was a better sounding kiss. I wish all the best things for you. And filming this video has changed me radically. Even from the beginning, I was nervous to film it. I'm really glad I did. And I feel like my energy has changed significantly because of it. I'll see you around, and yeah, peace. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next video. See you later.